Required listening with Amazon Music.
Dad music again?
The greatest guitarist of all time.
Wait, who?
Alexa, add this song to a new playlist.
Sure, what's the new playlist name?
Jack's Intro to Classic Rock.
Adding Stepping Stone by Jimi Hendrix to Jack's Intro to Classic Rock playlist.
Amazon Music, the simplest way to listen to the music you and soon he will love. New customers start your 30-day free trial at amazonmusic.com. Renews automatically, cancel anytime.
Blog Talk Radio.
Hello, folks. How are you doing? It's Danny Tisdale, and you are about to hear a great conversation on the Danny Tisdale Show. I'm not going to tell you who it is yet until we get to it. And it's March, and I want to give props to all the incredible work that women are doing, both in Harlem, New York, the United States, and around the world. And as you know, I'm going to say it, and I know I don't need to say it, that every day is Women's History Month, so don't be fooled by just the marketing, and celebrate it every day that you can. Let's talk a little bit about where else you can get Harlem World content, and that is at twitter.com/HWMag. Also on Facebook at facebook.com/HWMag, and of course on harlemworldmag.com. And if you go to the website, you can check out what's going on and see some of the stories that's trending. And here's an example. A great historical piece that we posted, I think, a couple of years ago, and it was Jimi Hendrix playing at the United Block Association benefit concert in Harlem in 1969. It's a great set of videos that go along with that, so you can check out Jimi Hendrix jamming in Harlem in 1969. It's a great, great story. Also, and these are just teasers, Mayor de Blasio has the first of its kind crowdfunding program for New York City women's startups, and that's, of course, women from Harlem to Hollis, Queens, if you want to put it that way. And also a great historical piece, along with the Jimi Hendrix piece, is the Harlem wedding of Nat and Maria Cole in 1948. Great, great, great photos of the couple kissing, and just tons of photos also of people who came to check the wedding out. So check that out and check us out. And more importantly, check out this podcast that we're about to give. And as part of Women's History Month, we have a philanthropist guru, Tracey Webb, on the show with us. Before we do a larger bio, let me just share this statistic with you. The Kellogg Foundation released a study in 2012 showing that African Americans give a larger share of their income to charities than any other group. I didn't know that. Quite frankly, I thought it was the other way around. There you go. Statistics gives the information. Tracey Webb is a graduate of Howard University. She has been awarded the Women Worth Watching Award. She is the founder of blackgivesback.com and blackbenefactors.org, a giving circle comprised of individuals, businesses, and organizations dedicated to addressing the societal ills facing African American community in the D.C. region. The mission of Black Benefactors is to enhance the well-being of Black children, youth, families by encouraging philanthropy, community service, and advocacy. They provide grants and in-kind support to organizations serving African American children, youth, families in the Washington, D.C. area. Tracey, thank you for being on the show. How are you doing?
I'm doing fine, and thank you for having me.
Well, and thank you for being on the show. I'm catching my breath after giving this great bio of work that you've been doing and the great work that you're doing. But I wanted to kick it off immediately and ask you, who got you started? If there was a person that got you started in your philanthropic work, or was it something you felt that just had to happen?
It's a combination of both. It's something that I felt that I had to do from my experience leading a nonprofit organization, and I was just inspired by my mom, my grandmother, people in my family that gave back, something that I witnessed growing up. So it was a combination of both. And working in the nonprofit sector, I just had so many challenges trying to keep the organization open. And ultimately, the organization closed. I wasn't able to bring in enough funding to keep the doors open. And there were some other administrative issues
and that's
as well.
Blacks Gives Back. Was that .com or .org?
.com. So blackgivesback.com was basically an outgrowth of it's something that, you asked earlier, something that I felt that I had to do. Just reading so many stories and reading magazines about these galas and, these nonprofit organizations. And it seemed like the Black community were always beneficiaries. And I thought, no, wait a minute, this is backwards, because I know that, just in my family and also just from knowing who some of the donors are because I'm so interested in it. That's what made me start Black Gives Back in 2007, because I just wanted to debunk that, because there are nonprofit organizations that are Black-led. There are donors that are supporting these organizations. There are Black philanthropists that are giving in huge amounts. And so I just wanted to show that. I wanted to show something different.
Yeah, and coming out of Black Gives Back, we get Black Benefactors. And what's the difference between the two? So
I actually started both around the same time. So I actually started Black Benefactors first because of my experience working in the nonprofit sector. So Black Benefactors is a way to support Black-led and Black-serving organizations, because a lot of those organizations, they're under the radar of larger donors and even foundations. So they don't get the same support as other nonprofits do. And people that are closest to the problem are best suited to address the problem, whatever the issue is. And usually those are people of color and people with grassroots work in communities, and they need funding.
So with Black, I'm trying to see how it works from, let's say, an organization that's in Harlem and they're listening to this program. Is there a way that they can reach out to you and work with Black Benefactors, or you're working more with the organizations as opposed to, maybe an individual who wants to, support a nonprofit? I don't know if I'm explaining this right, but
I understand.
How can a business work with you at Black Benefactors if they can?
Sure. So our Giving Circle supports, meaning funds, organizations that are based in the D.C. metropolitan area. So that's our area that we fund. So individuals that are interested in joining a Giving Circle, they can do so, because it's the requirement to fund in the D.C. area is not the same as our membership. We actually have members that live outside of D.C. We have members in New York and New Jersey, but they have roots here in D.C., so maybe they worked here some years ago, or they have relatives here, or they just want to join, even though their dollars won't directly support their community, but then they learn to see how a Giving Circle operates, because maybe it's something that they want to replicate in their community. If a nonprofit organization wants funding, unfortunately, the nonprofit would have to be based in the D.C. area, but if someone can tell me where they're based exactly, I can see if there's a Giving Circle that serves their community. Interesting. So I'm curious, what has been the key to your philanthropic success? Because you've been in this game for a while, and if you weren't as successful as you are, maybe you might not be doing it. But what has been the key to your success? I would say, for one, surrounding myself with fellow givers, the Black Benefactors members, because it really helps to be surrounded around people who have the same values and interests as you. And, for them to just be a support system. So true. And, it's a fun group because, we learn together. We learn about issues in our community together. We give together. We have fun together. So I think having that group of people, especially it's like-minded, right? Yes. So I think that's key. And also, it's like when I believe that when you're doing something that you're called to do, that you will be successful. It may not happen right away, maybe a little bit of time that you have to put in. But when you're called to do something when it's God-given, you'll get the resources. And, doors were open that you wouldn't even think would open. So I think that's part of it. And I know my ancestors are cheering me on because so many of them, just hearing stories about, they're giving back. And people, of course, I never met, but it just astonishes me that I'm just continuing what they did.
Right. That legacy. Right. And two, you talked about the time, and I automatically thought, that, the time that you put in is a kind of sweat equity investment in, what you're doing and, nourishing it and growing it. And I wanted to go back for a second before we go forward and ask you again about Black Benefactors. And what if somebody was in Chicago? I'm gonna ask you the question differently, because I saw in part of your bio on some other interview that you did that you worked with the homeless, I think, in your first job.
Right.
And do you think it's and I know some homeless organizations, and they do projects with the homeless. They create curriculum with the homeless. They do some other art projects with the homeless, but they don't do fundraising. Like I had noticed in New York, there's a red carpet event, and there's fundraising as a part of that fundraising event, and you get to socialize with the people who work in the nonprofit world, bringing them together with the people in the for-profit world. What is the best strategy in those kind of situations? Or, do you have to have a fundraiser with a red carpet to help raise money, or it works differently depending on where you are?
It does work differently depending on where you are, and I don't think that you have to roll out the red carpet and plan this extravagant event to support your favorite nonprofit. The first thing you want to do is reach out to them and ask them, do you have a wish list? What are your needs? Because besides financial, they may have in-kind needs. They may need board members.
Gotcha.
They may need people with expertise in graphic design or social media. They may need volunteers or mentors just to come and just talk to the homeless residents. Just, or they maybe the residents need support with workforce development, finding a job, creating, resume. So the best thing to do is to reach out to the organization and find out what their needs are. And these red carpet events, they're great and all. They can help create exposure, but they're expensive. You need a sponsor to help underwrite. Right. And then I remember reading an article a couple of years ago where they're saying that the galas, they're decreasing because of just the amount of money it costs to put them on. And will you even break it? Hopefully you'll recoup and get your money back and then some, but it doesn't happen all of the time.
So not every gala is going to give you $1.5 million.
Exactly. Yeah. You can have a fundraiser, in your home.
Okay. Well, I guess luckily we become a website at HarlemWorldMag.com where organizations in Harlem and some outside of Harlem send us, their red carpet events, and you can look at the event and sometimes say to yourself, okay, well, here's the answer to my question. My question and needs. All I need is a red carpet event, and all my questions are answered. And I'm so glad you brought a reality check to that. Because it does look like it can be the answer to all your wishes.
Right. When I was blogging, I did feature a lot of glitzy galas. And the reason why I like to do that is because, a lot of the gala pictures, really didn't have a lot of people of color. So I just wanted to show, hey, we host those type of events too. But I also highlighted people that are doing things in their communities. I highlighted people that, they were hosting fundraisers for their favorite organization. I've had people do that for Black Benefactors where they open up their home and they just invited people who were interested in learning more. So, there's different ways that you can approach it.
opening up their homes. So, whoa, I don't know if I could do that. Let me stop. Okay. Be nice, Danny. I'm just kidding. Well, I want to take a quick break, Tracey Webb from Black Benefactors, to let people know they're listening to Harlem World Radio. And on the radio today is Danny Tisdale, and it's the Danny Tisdale Show. And I have Tracey Webb on the show, and she is the founder of Black Benefactors, and we're going right back to Tracey. And Tracey, I wanted to ask you, and I've spoke to Tracey before, and I know she's probably getting worn out on me, keep asking all these questions about small businesses and red carpets and all this kind of stuff. But what advice would you give to people and businesses like Harlem World Magazine who are eager to make a positive impact on the world but don't know where to begin or have limited resources? What do you suggest?
Well, one thing I would suggest is to ask yourself, what causes are important to you? And that cause may be something that, you may have experienced. Someone in your family may have experienced. Maybe you experienced difficulty graduating. You didn't have enough money to pay tuition and you barely graduated. Or someone in your family may have had a health crisis. Or maybe there's some concerns in your community. So I would say first start by identifying what you're passionate about. Where do you want to make an impact? And then you can determine how best can I support it, whether that's financial or whether that's in kind. So for businesses, for example, I know there's a lot of nonprofits that are in need of space. So whether that's the space for an event, space for a meeting,
right.
And rent, eat up a budget, especially when you're hosting a convening. So you could open up your business, to serve as like a business could say, we'll provide our space in kind if you need to have a meeting, a community group or a panel, things like that.
Right. That's good.
So
good
it's not
stuff.
always financial. Of course, donation of goods, and just keeping an eye out on community needs. One thing I tell people to do is if there's a community foundation in their community, to reach out there, because sometimes the community foundation can tell you what the needs are and where there are gaps and how you can fit into those gaps as well.
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off, but I was can you tell us a little bit about community foundations or community foundation? Because I know, again, when we spoke earlier, you had mentioned that, and, I'm probably the only one on earth that doesn't know what a community foundation is. So can you kind of, put some meat on that bone and explain what the community foundation is?
Sure. And just like really simply, a community foundation is just that. It's a foundation for the community. So, for example, there's a community foundation in Brooklyn. And what they do is they're basically like just the stewards of funds for that community. So residents in that community, they can set up their own funds at the community foundation, and also a community foundation provides funding for nonprofits in that community. So if there was a nonprofit in Brooklyn that was looking for funding, they could go to the Brooklyn Community Foundation and to inquire. So it's just, that's basically what it is. It's a foundation for the community. And a lot of people, you're not the only one. There's a lot of people that have not heard of community foundations. So one thing you may want to do, especially for a business, is to look and see if there's one in your community that you can reach out to.
Right.
I'm pretty sure would love to hear from business.
Yeah, you're probably right. And so you don't have to be a nonprofit in order to work with a community foundation?
No.
Okay. Interesting. Okay. Huh. I know we talked about this before, and, my first go-around, I didn't have any luck finding, but I will certainly search again, and I'm sure for those who either are aware of it or not aware of it, we'll probably search too with our listeners, no matter where they are, and that's really quite exciting. And again, we talked previously, and you talked about the work that you were doing on Black Gives Back and the blog itself, and I know how hard you're working. So I said, let me flip the script a little bit and ask her, how do you relax, and kind of escape the work that you do? Are you a runner? Do you read, or do you just sit on your veranda in your huge mansion and overlook the White House to relax? I mean, how do you, relax and, let down your afro or your hair or however you wear it?
I definitely like to read.
Okay.
And I I love to just shop, and that's something I actually have to cut back on a little bit, but it does. But I just what shopping me doesn't mean that I'm buying something every time I go out to shop. Sometimes it's just just window shopping, things like that.
Right,
I love
right.
to travel.
That's an art.
But it is, it definitely is. But and also I exercise. So I was into yoga years ago, and I'm going to get back into it very, very soon. But just self-care and taking time to do the things that you like to do is really important because in this work you can burn yourself out. Especially when you're trying to make a difference, and it can be a lot. So I don't want to make it seem like everything is all peaches and cream. So it's great that you asked that question. So
because I hear you really saying you have to have that balance, right? Right. Yeah. I wanted to kind of, as I'm looking at the clock and it's flying by here, and I wanted to kind of go back again because as we speak, you say things and then I hear it and kind of come back. But from what I keep hearing, you're saying that yes, you can create the company, you can the nonprofit and look at the statistics on the outside looking in, but I keep hearing you saying that you have to engage the people that you want to work with and really ask them what it is that they need and what resources they need in order to help them or support them. You can't just make that decision on your own. Is that paraphrasing that incorrectly?
Right. It's just ideal, just so at least you can determine exactly how you can support that cause or organization. But just learning what the needs are. I mean, knowing the data and knowing what the needs are, I think is really important to help you to give strategically. And that's a little different because when you're giving strategically, you want to make sure that you're making an impact.
Right.
And so if you look at data and then you talk to the organization and find out exactly what they need, that you're fulfilling a need because you don't want a nonprofit to just kind of drift off and try to align with what you're trying to give them. But you want to provide them with what they need so they can continue to provide good services.
Well, yeah, and it's funny because I guess there used to be a term, the top-down strategy as opposed to a bottom-up, and I hear you almost saying that you're combining the two because you have the top-down to have and create the organization, but you really want it to be based on what people need and not just, here's what I think they need and I'm going to give it to them approach.
Right. Mm-hmm.
Great. Before we kind of exit here, I want our readers to, be able to get in contact, with your organization and stay in contact with you with your Facebook or Twitter account for Black Benefactors. Can you share that with our listeners, Tracey, so they can stay on top of what you're doing and maybe contribute and fund what you're doing?
Sure thing. So Black Benefactors website is blackbenefactors.org, and we have a brand new website, so I'm really happy about that. And we're also on social media, so our Facebook is Black Benefactors, and for our Twitter and Instagram, it's BLK Benefactors. And so we post information about our grantee partners, that we've funded, our events, and, just news of interest in our area. So definitely, connect. And when you go to our new website, there's an option where you can sign up for our newsletter. You can keep up to date that way. There's two other things I want to mention. One is that in addition to Black Benefactors, I'm also one of the campaign architects for Black Philanthropy Month, which is observed every August. So we're gearing up now. And you can go to the website blackphilanthropymonth.com. And soon the
Great.
2018 information will be posted, but definitely we would love people to think of ways they can get involved in their community. And the second thing I want to mention is for individuals and businesses that are interested in giving funds, maybe they want to create a fund for their business or a scholarship fund for their community. There's a great new resource called Grow Fund, and it's a charitable giving platform. I've heard of that. Yeah, and it's free to create an account. So you can go to mygrowfund.org. You can set up an account, and you can even deduct a certain amount each pay period or any period that you pick to put money into the fund, and you can donate to any 501c3 basically through the platform. So it really helps to
fantastic.
People will know that anyone can be a philanthropist. So like if your magazine wants to start a fund, you can go right to Grow Fund and start one. So I think it's a great tool, and also it's what Black Benefactors uses. So our giving circle is housed at Grow Fund.
So that's growfund.org?
It's mygrowfund.org.
MyGrowFund. Okay, great.
Mm-hmm.
That's really quite nice and makes a lot of sense, and I'm glad you shared your information. So, as I ask all our guests on the show, when you're in Harlem, Tracey, do you have a favorite place when you're in Harlem?
Do you know I've never – no, wait a minute. I have been to Harlem. Yes. But
what?
I went for an event, and I did not get a chance to, walk around. So I'm really disappointed
and experience this fabulous city. Oh, you got to come back.
I went straight to the event and went straight home. So I will be back very soon.
You were like, I'm going back to D.C. Harlem. What? Yeah, you got to come back and get the full flavor.
Exactly. Well, my Giving Circle is hosting Reggie Van Lee in May. And I know that, and he's nice. A philanthropist. So, Mr. Van Lee, from what I know, has given, a lot of funding to Harlem-based institutions. So,
that's right. Yeah,
looking forward
to that. Great
to
to Harlem. Yeah. That's fantastic. And I'm going to put in our site and in my date book to really log in some time for podcasts in August. To talk about the event, and I'd love to, have you back on the show maybe right before August to talk about how more people can get involved or earlier, if that makes sense, to really be a part of what you're doing and bring Harlem World into the mix of the philanthropy world. And thank you, Tracey Webb, for being on the show. And
thank you.
I'll bother you and bug you later on with updates and all that good stuff. But thank you, Tracey Webb from Black Benefactors, for being on the show, and really love the work you're doing. Thanks again.
Thank you so much.
Okay, take care. And folks, thank you for listening in. And I think Tracey Webb at Black Benefactors is really doing some great work, and love the energy that she brings, and hope you did too. Check us out again at harlemworldmag.com. Also on Facebook at facebook.com/HarlemWorldMag. HWMag. And also at Harlem World Magazine on Facebook. And don't forget Twitter, almost the same handle at twitter.com/HWMag. Also, check out some of the work we're starting to do with our non-profit, but it is a for-profit, but it is Harlem Youth Publishing Empowerment Hype. And check us out. You can go to our website at Harlem World Mag and check us out on the site. And again, it's Hype, Harlem Youth Publishing Empowerment. And we are trying this summer and after this summer to go back to something we started years ago with Columbia, and that is training the next generation of journalists from Harlem. Thank you for listening. Wherever you may be, whether it's Harlem, the United States, or around the world, We love you. And check us out again at harlemworldmag.com. Have a good rest of your day, and we will talk to you soon. Bye-bye.
Required listening with Amazon Music.
Dad music again?
The greatest guitarist of all time.
Wait, who?
Alexa, add this song to a new playlist.
Sure, what's the new playlist name?
Jack's Intro to Classic Rock.
Adding Stepping Stone by Jimi Hendrix to Jack's Intro to Classic Rock playlist.
Amazon Music, the simplest way to listen to the music you and soon he will love. New customers start your 30-day free trial at amazonmusic.com. Renews automatically, cancel anytime. Required listening with Amazon Music.
Dad music again?
The greatest guitarist of all time.
Wait, who?
Alexa, add this song to a new playlist.
Sure, what's the new playlist name?
Jack's Intro to Classic Rock.
Adding Stepping Stone by Jimi Hendrix to Jack's Intro to Classic Rock playlist.
Amazon Music, the simplest way to listen to the music you and soon he will love. New customers start your 30-day free trial at amazonmusic.com. Renews automatically, cancel anytime.